Car Cost Canada provides the dealer cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. The link is in the description below. Well, here's a car I'm excited to get my hands on, the 7th generation BMW 3 Series, one of the benchmarks in the auto industry, and this car is coming out just as things are starting to heat up in this segment. There's a new Audi A4 that's just been released. The Genesis G70, in my opinion, last year was the car to beat, and we're going to find out if this car is up to the job. The one you're looking at here today is the M340, so the 340 with the inline 6-cylinder, but with the M Performance package, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, how can you spot this car? Because in my opinion, one of the issues with BMW, from about 20 paces, the average layperson, not a car expert, probably couldn't tell you this is the new BMW 3 Series. But aficionados will know what to look for, and here's a couple of things that you should look for when you're out driving around. The new front grille kind of rolls over the top of the car towards the hood, but the top part of this grille doesn't actually have any air openings. It's just done for visual effect. And you see on the lower valance, on either side of the valance, there's air intakes that are also surrounded by this kind of brushed copper bronze look that you see on this particular model. In my opinion, I think this sort of gold treatment is done more for the Asian market, very big on trim on cars and very big on gold. And you see that around the back with the badging of this particular model as well. And just like every new car, it grows in size. You wouldn't really notice it right away, but the front wheels, the track between the wheels, side to side has been increased by over 40 millimeters, over 20 millimeters in the back, and the wheelbase is being made longer as well. This car has staggered wheels, meaning the rear wheels are wider than the front wheels for a better look and also for better handling. Because this has the M Performance package, it has a slightly lower suspension. So, can you spot the differences? Can you see that this is the new 3 Series? A keen eye will notice them, but the average person, maybe not so much. Let's get in, I'll tell you all about the inside, go for a drive, and tell you why I think the 340 is the one to buy. Now, one of the reasons I was so excited to get this new BMW M340 is because last year a significant car came out, and that's the Genesis G70 with the 3.3-liter twin turbo. And this is what I said about that car. I have to say, if you're looking for a premium, sporty, compact sedan, this might just be the car to beat when you factor in just how much it costs and what you get. So I think this car, until we get a chance to drive that new 3 Series from BMW, is at the top of the class. I said it moves to the top of the pack until we get a chance to drive this car. And I find it interesting what BMW has decided to do. So on every measure, they have bettered that Genesis G70. Do they really think that that's a major threat to this benchmark car? Probably not, but if you're going to come out with a new car, it better be better than the Genesis product, the newcomer to the marketplace, that won all the awards, was recognized by journalists around the world as one of the best entries in the compact premium sports sedan space. So, what are we working with here? Well, first of all, before we get to the specifics of this 340, I want to talk about the 330, and that's the new 4-cylinder turbo with 252 horsepower. So it has all the same attributes. It's got the wider track, the longer wheelbase, all those sorts of things. So I don't have that car here today, but that's the car that people buy that want to have a BMW, and they might be sort of slightly more enthusiast-minded because they want a performance-oriented sedan. But the people who are the real enthusiasts should gravitate towards this car. And what BMW has done with the M340 is they used to have this sort of more performance-oriented inline 6-cylinder engine as an option. But what they've done with this one is they've made it an option and kind of one package, and that is to have it's the performance model. Not only do you get one of the best engines that's available in the marketplace, you get the M Sport suspension, you get the variable sport steering, M Sport differential in the back, M Sport brakes, and the 18-inch M Light alloy wheels. And that's all standard equipment on this package. Previously, you would order the inline 6-cylinder and opt for the M Performance package. Now, one of the things I like about it is it has a lower ride height. It looks a little bit more assertive on its wheels. Then you get to the star of the show, and that is the inline 6-cylinder engine. Now, I can clearly remember the very first time I drove the 335, I think it was 2007, and I walked away and was like, wow, that is incredible. With this car, they have upped it to the next level. Now, on the European BMW website, it says this inline 6-cylinder has 374 horsepower, but on the BMW Canada site, it says 382 horsepower. I'll take the higher number. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you're getting more value. But the one thing that is hard to describe is how linear and progressive the power of this engine is. But the greatest thing about these turbocharged inline 6-cylinder engines is you get maximum torque very, very low in the RPM range. And this engine pumps out 369 pound-feet of torque. So over 380 horsepower and almost 370 pound-feet of torque, sign me up. I have to tell you, if you've never ever driven a BMW with one of these turbocharged inline 6-cylinders, you owe it to yourself as a favor, because some of the greatest engineering advancements we've seen in engine technology are in these engines over the last 10 plus years. They really are fantastic. And if I was going to buy this new 3 Series, this is the combination that I would get, because it's just so much more fun to drive. Now, on top of all of that, you get an 8-speed automatic transmission and different drive modes. This is all standard equipment with the M340. So you've got Sport, Comfort, Dynamic, Eco Pro. Is it better than that new Genesis G70? Well, what I found over the years is every single time that a brand catches up and gets close to BMW, with this car specifically, the 3 Series, when they bring out a new 3 Series, they just sort of leap ahead again. And I think that's the case with this. Yeah, the G70 is a wonderful car, but this is just that much better, more power, more torque, a vehicle they've just been polishing like a diamond for decades. The last generation, the 6th generation of the 3 Series, I didn't love that much. This one I think is better. The wider track, the staggered wheels, the lower suspension with this M340, I think is a fantastic car. Now, what's been omitted for this model? No longer can you get a manual transmission. You can with the G70, but only with the turbo 4-cylinder, not with the higher output 6-cylinder. Okay, I want to pull over here for a second and talk a little bit about the inside of this car. Now, what we're looking at here is actually just an evolution of what we've seen from BMW, and what we've seen in a lot of their new products is distilled down into this smaller form factor. So we've seen the new X3, the new X7, and so on, all coming out, and there's a very familiar interior. Now, you can look at this as a positive or a negative. In the past, I've been kind of hard on BMW, saying I don't think they're taking enough chances with their styling on the outside. I still think that's the case. And on the inside, yeah, they could be a little bit more avant-garde, but this works. And people that like BMWs, people that own BMWs will get into this, and you're obviously driving one of their cars. So you've got a nice large screen in the center of the dash. It's got that flat look that's stuck on the dashboard. Some people like, some people don't. It's not integrated into the dashboard. The controller in the center is very easy to use. In fact, this latest iDrive system is really quite intuitive. When these systems started, and BMW was the first to do it, so kudos to them, having an iDrive system, they were horrible. Now the best in the luxury space, in my opinion. Digital dashboard behind the steering wheel, not nearly as configurable as, say, Audi lets you do with their products. Nice materials, thick steering wheel, you know, nicely put together. Is there anything to complain about? No. The complaint is maybe they didn't change it enough. One thing I will say is BMW sport seats have got to be some of the most comfortable in the business, and that carries over into the back seat. When you get into the back seat, it looks kind of small, but when you slide into it, you sit quite low and your hips go right to the back of the seat, your knees sit up a little bit, and the seat is at a recline, which maximizes the space. So there's certainly enough leg room, there's certainly enough headroom, and it feels quite comfortable. So the packaging overall is really quite well done. Now, one of the interesting things about that Genesis G70 is that it uses the same all-wheel drive system that BMW has been using in their BMW 3 Series. It's made by Magna, the Canadian parts supplier, and how each manufacturer tunes it is really up to them. So yeah, this is a rear bias all-wheel drive system. When you put it in Sport and Sport Plus, it gives you more of that feel. And what does that mean? Well, some cars have a front wheel drive bias system, which means they'll send the power to the front wheels more often than not. Often that's done with a lot of cars to save money on fuel. BMW has taken the approach that they want to send the power to the rear wheels to give you more of that traditional performance sedan driving experience. Yet when you need it, when the computer senses slippage, cold temperatures, rain, all of those things, like the windshield wipers are on, it'll send a little bit more of that torque to the front wheels for greater grip. So a very intuitive system, and depending on what mode you're in, for the most assertive driving situation, it will adapt. This M340 is quick. It will make a run to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.4 seconds. It moves back to the top of the pack. This is still the car to beat. And having just driven the new A4, now not with their S4 package that would compete with this particular model, that is a great all-rounder, a great everyday car. This is a great car to drive every day, but when you wanted to have a little bit more fun, actually a lot more fun. So the new 330 starts at $49,000. This M340 with the inline 6-cylinder starts at, in Canada, $64,000. And the one you see here is equipped to the point of $72,000. Isn't that M3 money? Regardless, it is a wonderful car to drive. It is still the benchmark. You know, that G70 got close, but now BMW just leaps forward, which is what they typically always do. If you are in the market for a 3 Series and you're a performance enthusiast, you have to try this engine, one of the best engines on the planet, hands down.
Car Cost Canada provides the dealer cost, a list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. The link is in the description below.